My name's Kenley Eaglestone. I am an attorney. I focus on trademark and copyright law. Today I'll be talking to you about some things that are relevant to you as documentarians.
Just because you have access to something, whether that's copyrighted, protected footage, music, whatever, doesn't mean that you have the right to use it.
Really not easy, and I think that's why so many people are just like, forget it. You can search the copyright.gov has a search feature. You can try to look up the owner of the copyright and reach out to them that way. I've never had a problem reaching out to an artist, and I've done it a number of ways. I've used Facebook, I've used Instagram, but there are also much more formal means. For instance, you can go on the copyright website, you can look up the owner of a copyright and contact them that way. You can also find out who, if they're more famous, like who their agent is. I've even had to reach out to creators of fabric patterns that people found on Etsy. You know, it's definitely possible to do.
This film, Getting Grown, it's not a documentary film, but one of the things I had to do was, just as an example of something that's like very different, the kid in the film loves a particular basketball player and spends the whole film wearing an NBA, specifically a Philadelphia 76ers shirt. Now, that's an example of something people wouldn't think, like, it doesn't have to be cleared, like, who cares about that? He's wearing a shirt, it's a shirt, right? But that is a very, it's a specific logo that's owned by a company that is very careful about its image and has in the past sued people over the use of its image, right? So as soon as I knew that it's kind of integral to the plot, so I couldn't just say, well, put him in another shirt, right? So I spent months clearing that with the NBA and the 76ers, and I did get clearance for it, and they didn't charge me much or anything, but it was still like I had to go through that whole system with the lawyers so that I could get that cleared. And I think, again, it's the kind of thing, maybe narrative filmmakers think about it more, but even if it had been a documentary film about somebody who loved NBA team and wore something, or you know what I mean, or the whole thing was, like, you would still have to go through that process, or you should, because the NBA has a right to say, like, yeah, you can't use our image all over your documentary. Like, that's, we didn't give you the rights to that. We're not endorsing that.
It's easier to get permission for things that are not music.
There are two sets of rights for music. You have to get whoever owns that recording, that's one set of rights, and that recording could be owned by a record company or whatever. And then it's also whoever owns the composition. It gets it's complicated and often, frankly, expensive. I know of a lot of documentary films and fiction films, for that matter, that have, particularly independent productions, that have been essentially, buried because of that, right? The film was done, got picked up for distribution, or would be, but they couldn't clear all the music rights, and so they have to redo the entire film or just not release the film.
I think that royalty-free songs, I think those are a really good way to go.